been said because it is the greeting is a greeting of true peace that we definitely deserve when we understand that our history is a history that encompassed so much of a trial of anguish, of so much misunderstanding because we not knowing why these things was happening. Many things was blamed on us but to be blamed for something and not know why you're being blamed for it is almost like, okay, how should I resolve it? Because I don't know, but I'm being blamed for the things that to me might make sense, but it can't make any sense because I can't make heads or tails of it. So we are the children of Israel, and our ancestors have done a great injustice to Yahweh God, who is God of all. And we have come into the land, in this land, at this time, to understand an absolute truth, and that truth, absolute truth, pertains to us. And what is involved that we might return back to our God. I would like to open this up by saying in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10, and I like to say there is a fear for good and there is a fear for punishment. But the fear that Yahweh God told the children to have towards him was a fear to bring them into the harmony that would be necessary for them to have the stay of execution of the punishment for breaking of the law. So in Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12, he begins to explain to them, he says, "And now, Israel, what does Yahweh, not God, but thy God, require of thee?" He said, "But to fear Yahweh thy God." He said, "I want you to fear me." See, he said, "I want you to fear me. Fear me for your good. Fear me that you will do that which is acceptable and right. Fear me because I want you in this fear." As it goes on, it says, "But to fear Yahweh thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him." He said, "I want you to fear me, to love me, not to break the commandments. I want you to fear me so that the circumstances would be so rewarding to you that you know that to break it would bring about a situation of our parting. Because as it says, how can two walk together except they agree?" The agreement to us was what Yahweh required from us. That was the agreement. The agreement was that we would accept of a thing, and if we didn't accept it, that's why in Deuteronomy chapter 28, he says here, and I want you to hold on to Deuteronomy 10, but to give clarity, he says in Deuteronomy chapter 28, he makes it clear to the children of Israel that these were bystanders of an agreement. He said, "And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahweh thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that Yahweh thy God will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth." So it was by an acceptance of this words of obedience to the commandments, and we go to the same chapter, verse 15. It says, "But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy God, to observe and do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee." Yahweh said this. He said, all these curses. He said, all the blessings if you will be obedient. Because all of this was by our obedience to do that which was acceptable and right in the eyes of our God. And he said, "I want you to love me. I want to have your admiration and respect as a God that came and got you out of the land of Egypt. And these things that are being expounded on today in the ears of our children and the ears of it is for them to make a decision. That's why it said, and thou shalt diligently, it said, and thou shalt inculcate, thou shalt diligently teach thy children. And therefore, so that the children could know for certainty that they can have a reward, but not through their disobedience. See, it's not going to happen. So as Yahweh told them, he wanted us to fear him, to love him, and to serve Yahweh thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Yahweh said, this is what I require of you. I don't want you to do nothing else and get confused. Now there is a fear that will come upon you, but there's a warning not to fear. There's a fear that you fear for the good of your endeavors to bring about the perfection that the Lord tells you. And there is a fear, and I'd like for you to turn to Isaiah. Isaiah 42 verse 1. 42 verse 1. There is a fear where Yahweh is telling, he's saying, I don't want you to see this, and when you see it, I don't want you to fear about it. And what does it say here?
Behold, my servant, whom I uphold, my...
It says, oh, we at what? Isaiah 43 verse 1.
But now thus saith the Yahweh that created thee, O Jacob, and he that formed thee, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name.
Yes, he said, thou art mine. He said, fear not. Fear not the struggle that you're going through. Fear not the circumstances that is overtaking you visually that you see. He said, I don't want you to fear this. I don't want you to have a fear of this, because the circumstances that you see is not without me helping you, so that you know that there is help in these atrocities and these things that you see, that I am your help. Because Yahweh God told Israel, he said, you're destroyed, but in me is your help. He told them that. He said, I can help you, Israel, but you have to realize that I can help you. And Yahweh God is making it clear to the children of Israel that they can have this help only through their re-evaluating how they're going to deal with their God. And there's only one way to deal with Yahweh God, and that is to come into harmony by doing the things that pleases him. Because Yahweh God has told you, Israel, he says in the works that he has put down in the prophecy and the writings, he said that there's no help for you but only in him. He said, O Israel, thou hast destroyed thyself, but in me is thy help. He said, in me is thy help. Yahweh God said, ain't no other help but me. And that's in Hosea chapter 3 verse 9. And it also goes on in Hosea to tell the children of Israel to join them to the truth that can only, that he said Israel is swallowed up. See, we're swallowed up. That's Hosea 8 verse 8. He said Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein there is no pleasure. No one has pleasure in you, Israel. Who has pleasure in you? There's no pleasure in you. Nobody wants to rub up against a loser. You understand what I'm saying? You could be a thief, but if there's prosperity there, people want to rub up against you, because they see that there is more of a possibility to receive something good than from you, who is a vagabond. Yahweh God sent us into the earth disguised. He sent us into the earth disguised because people will look at you visually and take notice of what you have on and the circumstances that you're able to achieve. And they will take and make partnership, not with you, but with the substance they see. They don't want nothing to do with it. They have nothing. It's because if you could be the most evil man, but you throw lavish parties and you have a visual means of prosperity, they don't care how you got it. They're going to what? They're going to want to get to know you. They're not going to shun you. They're going to shun that righteous man that lives in a shack. But he ain't going to do no wrong. But what does he have to give you? He barely can put food on his table. But they won't see that honesty and that integrity as being a virtue of prosperity. They won't see that. Is that people will see material wealth by a car, by clothes, by what you have on, even if they come in your house. But they don't see that you might be the biggest thief and murderer to obtain these things. So I'm saying to you, this is why in Zephaniah chapter 3, Yahweh said, at that time, when I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you, for I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth. Because people don't like you, Israel. They don't like you. And you are the truth. You can go out there and say you Israel. They look at you like you crazy. But this is not that the nations would like us. This is whether Yahweh God would like us. We have to put things in its right perspective. It's not, we never came into America to win a popularity contest. We came here to be punished. We came here to lose the glitter that can only be reinstated by Yahweh God. So Yahweh God says that he says, among all the people, he said, and I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth when I turn back your captivity. That's, you are enslaved, but you were taken by force. Nobody came into America except you, Israel, by force. Everybody else, I keep saying, the Statue of Liberty was never a freedom for us. We never saw it. We never saw, our ancestors never saw America as a place of freedom. It was no more vicious acts that was done and still done against us. And this is what? This is the making of America. America's makeup is to do everything to impair you. That's why the circumstances that is always following us is the circumstances of doubt that you were ever achieving. Because when the people went down in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and build a structure by which they would imitate their own wealth and remove themselves, it was what? The total infraction that would be brought about by outside and make a people, a wandering people in a land to this day. Because they came to the point of providing for themselves. They were doctors, they were lawyers, they were people that would structure their own business, bringing about their own stability in a land. That okay, even if the man had, which he didn't rape that white woman, what was the real reason for destroying? If you read and watch the movie, the white people was going and removing products from the house of the people. They took the total liberty of murdering the men, destroying the town, burning it down. When you understand that the real evil that talks about, then you understand the evil of America. Nobody knew, and then after they did such that, even if they could not punish them, why didn't they rebuild it? They rezoned the whole thing. You mean nobody in the country heard of this? No government law was put in place to come and make sure that that these people would get back everything that was being taken away from them by such an evil force. It never said that the government came to their aid. It never said. It only said that those that they rezoned because the people wanted to rebuild. When you understand this in your heart, you know that Yahweh God has put us in the hands of cruelty. And we must know how to meet that. Why? Let us go to Proverbs. In Proverbs, Yahweh God makes a statement, Proverbs 3, verse 33. Proverbs 3, verse 33.
The curse of Yahweh is in the house of the wicked.
The curse, he says, the curse. This is a curse, is in the house of the wicked. And who is the wicked, and where is the wicked, and what does the wicked own? You understand? If we understand that the curse of Yahweh is in the house of the wicked, well, tell me, what does the wicked own? And then we'll understand the impact of his wickedness upon the helpless people. Because we think, is this a narrow point? It says in Job 9, verse 24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. So his house is the earth. Didn't it say that? Job chapter 9, verse 24, he says that the curse is in the house of the wicked. Then where's the wicked? The wicked owns the whole planet. The wicked owns the whole planet, and this curse that we're living in is a curse of the house of the wicked. That's why it says in the psalm about the wicked being in great power. His power is so great. You understand what I'm saying? That Yahweh God, he says in Psalm 37, verse 35, I've seen the wicked, what? In great power. Spreading himself like a green bay tree. He says, I've seen it. And he said, the wicked plot against the just, and gnaweth upon him with his teeth. You have to understand, they ain't got no mercy for God's children. Yahweh God, if he don't help us, there's no help for us, because this is the place of the curse. We living in the house of the curse. Unless we enter in to obedience to the commandments of Yahweh, there's no hope for us. There's no hope by which we can, what you gonna hope in your degree? What, in math, physics, humanities? What you gonna do that you gonna put your hope in your job, your children, your enemy, the government? Who you gonna tell me you gonna put your hope in? Tell me who you gonna put your hope in, because that's where you gonna be tried. If you're gonna be tried, you put your hope in your money. You put your hope in your children, your wife. You put your hope in Yahweh God, because ain't nothing else gonna happen good for you. Yahweh God, if he don't help you, you gets no help. Many people, it's not wrong that we as individuals misunderstand. That's what life is. You misunderstand to understand. Your weakest point is to your strongest point, because then you know if you're weak, if there's a way to make you strong, then that weak point teaches you how. We don't have to shun life. We got to what? Become familiar with what affects us. We can't depend upon our money. You as a black man in the United States of America, you can't depend upon the United States government. Try it. Try it. If Yahweh God don't have mercy on you, you ain't got no mercy given. Because there's no way these black people in the United States of America coming in with a history that they gave this country, their ancestors gave this country. Now they got so slick, they don't even want to talk about your history in the schools. You have to realize who you are as a people, as a person. We came in here to be destroyed, so the majority of the people here are destroyed. They're not going to wake up. They are destroyed. They're going to be depending upon everything that don't work. If Yahweh God does not help you, you're not going to make it. So you have to have the reality must not be that you put your what? Your trust in anything other than Yah. Anything else is a waste of time. All of this is going to be taken away in a matter of minutes, seconds, microseconds. It ain't going to be here. And what you going to put your trust in? While you are together, you learn. You learn as much about Yahweh God and you stick to Him. Because Yahweh God is the only one that can make everything that has value to you stick to you. If it's your loved ones, the things you like, Yahweh God ain't going to take these things from you. Yahweh God loves you. But if He sees that you put value in the wrong thing to get your attention, He may remove them so that you can say, oh, because once you come back to what makes things work, everything else comes back into play. Because Yahweh loves you. Those whom He loves, He lets the things that going to go out of play stay in their attention because we are distracted by what we see. A woman is supposed to entice a man. That's what her body's for. He's supposed to catch that. That's just the beauty of how Yahweh God. A tree must catch your attention if it's green. Or you walking through the fire and you see a pretty flower. Or you see a bird, or you see money. All of these things have different shapes and therefore different colors, different purposes, different use, and they attract your attention. It's not that we mustn't desire to have wealth, but you ain't taking none of this stuff away when you leave. You have to keep things in this proper. The wealth is righteousness. Obedience to keep the commandments of Yahweh God. That's right. That's wealth. Anything else is fleeting wealth. Riches are not forever, for they soon take wings, what? And they fly away. It doesn't mean you shouldn't want to be rich. It means you should keep it in it, because it said the rich man's wealth is his strong tower. Yahweh, the name of Yahweh in obedience to the commandments is our strong tower. This is what we live. This is what we breathe. Riches, these riches was put in place of the building of a nation to take gold and make it a means of exchange. Coins, money, diamonds, things they got out of the ground. But the wealth of a nation, of a people, of a planet is what feeds the air, the sun, the food. This is the wealth. You can't eat no diamonds, no gold. That's right. The wealth of a planet is what Yahweh God is in total control of. Man ain't in control of no sun.
Man makes himself God by making things of no value.
That's right. He makes himself God by making these things of money. The stock market, they don't have no value with death. Everybody that died being rich, whether they draped them in their jewelry and stuff, that has no value. The value of it is in the earth, not after you die. What value does a diamond have when you lying in your casket? If you have no righteousness, the worst poverty that you can ever encounter is a spiritual poverty. That is no poverty more demeaning and devastating than the poverty that goes along with being spiritual. You have to understand that you must seek these things out that is relative to you, not relative to everybody else. Israel is yours. Has none. Israel is a birthright. It is a blood right. You can't hand it to anybody else. You can't hand it to anybody else. Because it is that important to know. Yahweh God wants us to know so we have to know who we are and that we can't give our birthright away. This is something Yahweh has given us. We ain't sharing it because it can't be shared. You've been born an Israelite. It had nothing to do, there's nothing in the Torah that say your mother has to be a Jew. Nothing in there. Nothing in there. Just because you go and rape a person and you're going to say, well, my inheritance and everybody's one. In that mixture, you're still one. No matter whether you've been raped, no matter who your father is, you're always one. We have been raped in every way you can, but Yahweh God will make the choice of who we are. And we are people of the captivity, children of the captivity. And we, as it been prescribed in Torah, we meet the specifications that has been drawn up to give us our identification of who we are. We are Israel. Are we a mixture of many people? Of course. Have our women been raped and the men been raped? Of course. But at the same time, Yahweh God has told us, so who you must return. You can't return through Esau. Esau don't have anything for you. What do you think that Esau can give you? Esau can't give you anything. The blood right is not his. You can't be an Edomite. He can't be an Israelite. It's impossible. And why all of those Jews? Where are the other 11 tribes? Don't worry about him finding the Ark of the Covenant. He ain't a Levi. He can't mess with that covenant. But then again, they'll give you all kind, because there's an order by which everything is done on this planet. And David found that out when he went to get the covenant. He had to get the Levites to do it. He could not bring that ark up safely without them. Because that's their commission by Yahweh God. What is your commission, Israel, but to be obedient to the commandments? To do the commandments. But does that mean you have a prescribed covenant that you have made with your God and Yahweh has made with you? He has not made this with nobody else but you. He did not, no matter how they come in and try to get in, it is a birthright. We absorb them. They don't absorb us. That's why I say it's only one. No matter if they come in, they can't bring their customs into ours. Just like if we go into their customs, they absorb us. Why? Because we marry one of them, and we marry again until our whole thing is erased. Just like if they come into our custom, we what? We eradicate them by them what? Continuously. But they don't bring their customs. There was a place we were very strict. We honored the stranger, but we kept him at bay because we kept each other at bay. We did not marry into the different tribes. So we had that strict lineage of pedigree. How much was we with someone else? We knew our house. We had certain colors. We did certain things to make sure we stayed within our perimeter. That's why everything was locked. We did not just mix with everything. Everything was in order. Everything was done to specification to bring about clarity in this great multitude. Nothing was done haphazardly. Even the order of the priests, the order of where Yahweh God, he said,